And a stunner for some, Clipper Nation. One of the worst losses you can have this early in a season, as the Clippers have just dropped one by one to the Portland Trail Blazers here at Intuit Dome. Didn't think I'd be saying that tonight, but I couldn't have stressed it more. You can't overlook this team. You can't overlook anyone this early in the season. And the Clippers seemingly put together their worst performance against a lesser opponent tonight and paid the price. Missed free throws, a turnover on the inbounds pass. So that's 2 inbounds passes so far in 4 games this season that have ended with a turnover in a situation where the Clippers had a chance to win the game. Very frustrating. They were down by 3 against Phoenix. Obviously, it would have tied in OT. Game 1 and Intuit Dome. Tonight, down by 1. They had a chance to win it, and they don't even get a shot off again. Just a very difficult loss, deflating loss, Clipper Nation, with everything we've talked about over the last couple of days. To put forth this level of performance, really frustrating. I'm with you guys. We'll have it all for you here on Clippers Talk Postgame. Max Vega said, came down to details and free throws. This should have been a comfortable game for the Clippers to win. Amina Sean said, terrible loss. Sore Losers Gaming said it was a soft pass. Everything went wrong, says Amina Sean. Zoo did play horribly. Man played poorly. I'm most disappointed in Zoo and the team that wasn't getting him involved at all early on. The Clippers are still winless here in the regular season at Intuit Dome as they drop a tough one, Clipper Nation. They lose 106-105 to the Portland Trail Blazers. Welcome into your post-game show. I'm Adam Osland. While we have a moment with you, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers lose by 1 to the Portland Trail Blazers in heartbreaking fashion here at Intuit Dome, where they weren't able to execute an inbound pass at the end with just over 3 seconds left. Let's bring back in your radio voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez. So I told you off air, this is about as bad of a loss as you can have this early in the season. Luckily, it is still early in the season, but this is a tough one, and the Clippers just did not string together enough stops and execute enough on the offensive end, especially in the fourth quarter. Far too many miscues and mishaps, Carlo.
Yeah, I mean, for the Clippers down the stretch, they were playing with fire a little bit by allowing Portland to hang around close. But, Adam, they were right there when they had opportunities to erase their mistakes and come away with a win. Norman Powell, a layup late. Zubac with 2 free throws to either tie or take the lead, and then an inbound pass with 4 seconds left, and you throw the ball over. You look at this game and you say, man, Portland played well, but the Clippers had every opportunity to come back in this ball game. They couldn't get it done. And now the pressure turns to Phoenix, where you don't get the rest. You're on the front end of the back-to-back, and you have a chance to maybe get one of this back-to-back, but you're going to have to do it with heavier legs.
Well, yeah, and Ivica Zubac, we talked about it heading into this ball game. He and James Harden, how many minutes would they play? Well, Big Zoo was at 31. James Harden was at 32. They couldn't keep their guys under 30. Norman Powell was at 35 minutes. Really frustrating way to lose a ball game, I know. We'll hear from Coach Lou a little bit later here on your post-game Clippers talk. But the missed free throws are just inexcusable. And it just felt like to me in this ball game, they got off on the wrong foot, especially with getting away from their bread and butter. The high pick and roll with Ivica Zubac and James Harden. We talked about it, but in the first half, Big Zoo was what, 0 for 4? That's inexcusable. You mentioned it, but 2 of his attempts were off of offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
They weren't getting him the basketball, and he wasn't demanding the basketball. There's blame to go on both sides, but to me, the game was lost in some ways early on when they just weren't playing this new brand of Clippers basketball, which means it's no longer an option to get Big Zoo involved. It is a necessity right now with where the Clippers are at.
It really is. I mean, you see where you miss him today, Adam. The Clippers just couldn't find any interior presence with Ivica Zubac unable to get going on that end. The Clippers, like you said, didn't really feed him the basketball, even though their offense was running through him through the first 3 games. All of a sudden, they go away from it a little bit. I think for a team that played to their strengths through the first 3 games, they almost played away from their strengths here today. They were unable to dominate the painted area. They gave up 12 offensive rebounds, something we talked about pregame. Portland's the tallest team in the NBA. They were going to get on the glass. They got on the glass here today. And you're right, Adam, a disappointing loss, especially when you think about Ty Lue's never lost to Chauncey Billups. The Clippers have had Portland's number for years. They have won 15 of the last 16 contests before tonight between these two teams. It's just an uncharacteristic loss. Credit to Anthony Simons in Portland, but it's not like the Blazers executed late either. Felt like they missed a couple of shots. Their final shot was a DeAndre Ayton 3, who went 1 for 10 last year from outside the arc. There were chances for the Clippers, and they were unable to take the opportunity and step through the front door and kind of take over this ball game late. It's a tough loss. You hope losses like this are a little bit of a wake-up call because the Clippers were playing so well against the top 3 teams out west to start the year, and then you lose this one to Portland, and now all of a sudden you wonder, where are we? Where are we in the power rankings? How do we understand where we fit out west? You got a chance to prove yourself against Phoenix tomorrow. We'll see if the Clippers can do that.
Felt like it was the little things tonight, death by paper cuts. And a lot of them were self-inflicted by this team when it comes to just not playing with the same level of effort. I know the opponent is the Portland Trail Blazers. We all knew that coming in, but you can't act like, oh, this is a team that's going for Cooper Flag or whatever the perception is of the Portland Trail Blazers, that they're going to be at the top of the draft. You have to come out with the same focus. And I talked about coming into this game, we're going to learn something about the Clippers tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight, they didn't have that focus.
Yeah, which is, I think, surprising for us, and I want to speak for both of us, Adam, but when you think about the intensity that the Clippers have played with, especially on the defensive end, the first 3 games, it always felt like if one thing was consistent, they played hard. Whether they lost or won, they played hard through the first 3 games. Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr., a big catalyst of that. They were able to pound underneath with Ivica Zubac. And today, there wasn't that same intensity. There wasn't that same execution. On the offensive end, late in the clutch, the Clippers had been dominant. They'd been dominant on the offensive end in the clutch, unable to be effective today, and then you have the sloppy turnovers late. Just an odd game because the way this team was trending, they were going to hang their hat on their hustle, and today I think a little bit of that wasn't there for them.
It almost felt like at times Portland was asking them to take the ball game. They weren't playing great either. The Clippers were up 85-82 heading into that fourth quarter. They hit 100 first. This would be the first time in a Clippers game so far this season the team that got to 100 first lost.
Yeah.
They were in control. They had that defensive stop. Norman Powell gets out, tries to take it down the court, gets his shot blocked. It's off of him. And just the lack of execution in key moments by this Clippers team, missing a couple of free throws, including their last 3 attempts at the charity stripe. Big part of their undoing.
Chris Taylor, our statistician today, just handed me a note, Adam. The Clippers had 2 made field goals in the last 5:35 of the ball game. Their last made bucket came with a $1:56 on the clock. So you go 5.5 minutes, 2 field goals, 3 minutes apart. Killer for the Clippers down the stretch. Again, an offense, 61% from the field in the clutch through the first 3 games. It just evaporated here today. It's unfortunate. I think the Clippers, though, there's a lot to learn from this. Sometimes losses, they say this in football all the time, but sometimes if you lose an early game like this, it kind of wakes you up for how you need to play, how you can try to be more effective down the stretch. And for the Clippers, a tough one against Portland, but you hope that they take away from this game, learn something for it, and come out with that intensity that we expected of them through the first 3 games because they brought it through the first 3 games.
Yeah, in a season like this with a small margin for error, you just can't have too many of these slip-ups. They got to get it back tomorrow night against the Phoenix Suns. Clippers fall 106-105 to the Portland Trail Blazers here at Intuit Dome on the front end of a back-to-back. Carlo Jimenez, great call as always. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night, my friend.
Adam, we get to hang out tomorrow night. Let's go.
It's not all bad. Coming up next, we'll get to your final box score. We'll walk you through how the Clippers lost by 1 to the Portland Trail Blazers here at Into a Dome. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.
Thanks, Zach. Talk to you tomorrow.
Where's that stat? Where's that? What was it? 2 buckets in the last. Thanks, Chris. What time do we gotta get out here, Zachary? Sure. I mean, whatever you're feeling. Man. Oh, the chat. Yeah, it was a careless turnover by Harden. It's like we saw in game 1 where he looked for Ivica Zubac against Phoenix late in that ball game. Ugh. Clippers 10 for 18 from the line, guys. This is Chris Taylor, by the way. Lead statistician, stud. Makes us sound smart. Just inexcusable. I'm frustrated. We're going to have a good one for you tonight. Zubac had 1 point in the fourth quarter. His last bucket came with 4:42 left to go in the third. I think it was a little right-handed hook shot. Too many lulls, too many runs. I mean, was this end of third, Chris? The 5-0 run? That was big. Portland 5-0 run to end that third quarter when the Clippers could have had 8-point lead. Clippers lose 106 to 105 here at home in Intuit Dome, where they are winless so far in 2 attempts in the regular season. Welcome back in. I'm Adam Osland. This is your Clippers post-game show. Coming up, we will have Clippers talk for you on the Patriot AM 1150. 877-520-1150. 877-520-1150 is the phone number. We are also live on YouTube at Clippers Talk. The chat is just blowing up. I can't even keep up with it right now. I know the level of disappointment coming off the weekend and then 2 days off where you really get to bask in the afterglow of 2 huge victories against Denver, against the Golden State Warriors. And for the most part, outside of a few possessions where it looked more like Clippers basketball, especially defensively, where they locked in, they had a 24-second violation in the fourth quarter here against the Portland Trail Blazers. They got some stops, but offensively, you got to knock down your free throws. And you can't have just 2 made baskets in the last 5 minutes and 35 seconds. We knew they would struggle at times offensively, but some of the miscues out there just go to the final play of the game. The pass on the sideline from James Harden. That's just, I think Norman Powell was open on that possession. I'm going to have to look at it again. He gave a little tap on the back right before they went into formation. I thought maybe it was going to Norman Powell. There was some indication there. Instead, they tried to go to Ivica Zubac underneath the basket against DeAndre Ayton, who, quite frankly, outplayed him tonight. Easily. Ayton even hit a 3-pointer. Ivica Zubac, by far, had his worst game of the season. I hope he got it out of his system. I think it's twofold. It works both ways. They weren't getting him the basketball, and Zubac wasn't demanding it. The body language wasn't good. I did like the fact that after he missed those 2 free throws, he got the spectacular block, the Bill Russell, block it and get the rebound. However, those little moments of an indication of who the Clippers have been with their identity so far through 3 games coming into this one, they were just hit and miss. You got glimpses here and there of how they had played the first 3 games, but they weren't consistent. They didn't string together enough good possessions offensively or defensively, I thought. Clippers ended up shooting 45, make it 46% from the floor to Portland's 45%. Big difference in Carlo brought it up, though. Portland, with those offensive rebounds, that was a determining factor. I think they tied the Clippers with 13, but they made the most of them because Portland had 22 second chance points. The Clippers just 12. Frustrating one, Clipper Nation, as they actually shot better from 3 than they had been. 13 of 36. A lot of that was Norman Powell. I know a lot of you guys are saying Norman Powell for president. Norman Powell showed up. He was great. He had 30. He had 3 threes, I want to say, in the third quarter. Or was that early fourth? 5 of 10 from the outside. Yeah, third quarter. T-Man didn't have a good game again. Didn't play much at all in the second half again. He at least took a couple of threes and a jumper. He looked for a shot a little bit more. It's not enough. They need more offense from him. But this is a frustrating one. It's just inexcusable. I'm telling you, it's too early in the season to panic with 78 games left. But I think it's also fair when everybody comes into this game and says, hey, this is as close as you can get to a must-win in an early season bout because of the opponent, because you had 2 days off, because you have Phoenix coming up tomorrow. Instead, it felt like at times the Clippers played down to their competition, and give Portland credit, Simon stepped up late. He took over at times in the fourth quarter. They put together a 12-0 run, an 8-0 run, a 5-0 run near the end of the third quarter. Portland won the hustle stats. They did more of the little things. They beat the Clippers at their own game at times. Disappointing night to say the least. Quick timeout. We'll come back. Still have Clippers talk coming up on the Patriot AM 1150. 877-520-1150 is the phone number. I'm Adam Osland. Here at Into a Dome after the Clippers fall by 1 to the Portland Trail Blazers, 106-105, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Hey, I gave credit to Aiden. He was good. He hit a 3. He had that tough triple team on him where he got it to go late. I thought he was just trying to draw a foul. I didn't think he was serious about it. I mean, tough bucket. That put him up by 1. I mean, it took till the final 2 minutes for Harden and Zoo to run a hard pick and roll, it felt like. That's how Zoo got to the free throw line and inexplicably missed both. He did recover with the block on Simons on the other end, the block rebound, the Bill Russell, but then Amir misses a 3. I thought it was a decent look. I thought it was going. I think he thought it was going too. Then this wild sequence where Portland comes back the other way and gets blocked at the rim, it looked like. It was chaotic. And then Norman Powell comes storming the other way. He gets blocked. Ball goes off of him with 30 seconds left. Portland's up by 1. And after the Clippers end up getting the stop with, 3.3 seconds left. Plenty of time. Call the timeout. Get into the front court. They get 3.2 seconds left. And that's what they come up with. They don't even get a shot off. Really frustrating. Interested to hear from Coach Lou post-game. I mean, Jeremy Grant hardly even did anything in the ball game, who was topic of conversation earlier today. And they got a 3 for 14 game from Jeremy Grant, and they lost to Portland. It's no disrespect. But this was one of the few games I think the Clippers will be decidedly favored in this season when it comes to just talent. Zach, will you keep the music running here? I'll go quick. Clippers lose 106-105 at home at Intuit Dome to the Portland Trail Blazers. Difficult, frustrating loss, Clipper Nation. I get it. We'll talk about it. 877-520-1150. 877-520-1150 is the phone number. But no rest for the weary. I don't know if this is good or bad news. The Clippers got to get right back up off the mat and take on the Phoenix Suns here tomorrow night, who had the night off. Much was made of this back-to-back, and the Clippers trying to put a team away early, maybe. Instead, they take a bad loss to the Portland Trailblazers. Give credit to Portland, but we got a lot to talk about with this Clippers team. Outside of Los Angeles, we are out of here until tomorrow night. We will be leaving you when they face the Phoenix Suns. Tip time 7:30, pregame 6:30 in LA. It's Clippers Talk next here on the Patriot AM 1150. Frustrating one, guys. Totally get it. It just seemed like they didn't come out with the right intent. What did we just hear from Coach Lou? That their heart was in the right place. They had the right intent. They play for one another. They play a certain brand of basketball, and I thought it was inconsistent tonight. Portland played well at times, but scored 106 points. Clippers offense was, even with only 14 turnovers, it turns into 18 points. So, like, Portland capitalized on everything with those second chance points and also on turnovers. They were great there. And the Clippers go 10 of 18 at the charity stripe. I mean, you could dumb it down to just that, right? 10 of 18. I'm not blocking any callers as long as they don't swear. I understand being angry tonight. I'm frustrated. They got to get this game tomorrow against Phoenix, or they're starting 2-3. Zubac had a really bad game, and I thought the game plan of getting it to him went out the window somehow. I told you guys just the other night, my biggest concern, Harden's having to do too much. It's going to catch up with him. Harden looks gassed, and we're 4 games in. Some people are saying, well, he doesn't have his legs yet. That's how it works. You got to work your way into shape. I don't know. I've heard Coach Lou talk about them needing these last 2 days off to get the rest. I don't think he was saying that he just needs to play his way into game shape yet or NBA shape, because it's hard. You can't replicate it. But that's not an excuse for this loss. There are none. Clippers lose to the Portland Trailblazers 106-105 here at Intuit Dome. And it's got Clipper Nation feeling like this season's going up in a blaze. They're still 2-2. It's still early. I'll try to talk you down away from the ledge here on Clippers Talk tonight. Try to bring some sanity myself here. I know you guys will try to help me with that at 877-520-1150. 877-520-1150, as I'm a little bit worked up about this one. Clippers have yet to win here at Intuit Dome, and they've lost both games that were very winnable in a similar fashion, where they had the ball late against Phoenix. They were down by 3, didn't get a shot off, turnover. Tonight, they're down by 1 against Portland, didn't get a shot off, turnover. Too familiar. A little too familiar in all the wrong ways after we've been praising them all weekend and the last 2 days for showing up in Denver, for showing up in San Francisco against Golden State. Just really, really frustrating and demoralizing, I'm sure, for Clipper Nation to see the Clippers come back to Intuit, be waiting, have 2 days of really rallying around this team, and then they lose to the Portland Trail Blazers 106-105. I try to put out some warning signs saying you can't overlook anyone, especially this early in the season. Said it on multiple episodes on Clippers Talk on YouTube. If you're watching on that side right now, I'll get to some of the chat here in a bit. If you want to call in, we're on the Patriot AM 1150, 877-520-1150. But I don't know how you put together a performance like this after what we just saw this past weekend and lay an egg in this fashion and have a letdown like this. It's early in the season. Teams like Portland, who aren't supposed to do much, we'll see, are at a talent disadvantage, but there's belief early in the year. There's hope, especially with the play-in now. Feel like, hey, 10 teams in each conference get into the dance, the tournament. If you want to dumb this down to just the Clippers at the free throw line, that's fair. But I think it started before that. I think this was an earned loss by the Clippers. I felt like if they had won it, they snuck away or they got away with something. Some people say a win's a win, a loss is a loss. Sure, you can look at that at the very end of the season, but I think habits you build matter. How you play matters. How you win, how you lose matters. You can play great in defeat and build off something you did in that game and it turns into a win later, or you can develop bad habits during wins that can eventually come back to bite you. That's what it felt like tonight if the Clippers got away with this one. Amina Shan says on the YouTube side, we were playing with our food, Adam. I don't know. Like, they were down at the half, this Clippers team. They could have been down more at the half. It could have been worse. They made a little bit of a run at the end of the second quarter. They were only up by 2 after the first quarter. I thought there were warning signs. We talked about it during the broadcast. If Ivica Zubac is not getting involved, what's going on? Seems like he wasn't engaged, and the Clippers weren't looking for him. He took 4 shots in the first half. 2 of them were on offensive rebounds, so created by himself. What's going on there? I'm going to say it again. I tweeted this out. I said it early in the post game. It's not an option to get Ivica Zubac involved. It's a necessity. The team's got to look for him early and often. They got to get to the high pick and roll, like the one they ran very late in the game that got him to the free throw line on the missed dunk, where he ran strong to the basket and James Harden found him. Where was that early? Where was that urgency? Where was the intensity? That's what I'm most disappointed in. I don't know if they started reading their own headlines or starting to think, hey, we just took out 2 solid teams on the road this past weekend. We can sleepwalk through this one and have a matinee-like start. Because that's what it felt like. People had brought up it was a trap game. But if you know going in it can be one, don't let it happen to you. Don't overlook this team for Phoenix because you want revenge over what happened last week. Now they need revenge over what happened tonight. Now tomorrow's game is even a bigger contest. I'm telling you, it's not a necessity. It's not an option to get Ivica Zubac involved. It's a necessity. Period. Get him involved early and often on this team right now without Kawhi Leonard, or you're going to have a real struggle on offense. I felt like Ivica Zubac was checked out at times defensively because they weren't getting him involved on the offensive end. And while they held this team to 106 points, and that's good, I still didn't feel great about it. There were possessions that were great. They got stops in the fourth quarter, a 24-second violation. There was some defensive brilliance. There was that play where right afterwards, it was Derek Jones Jr. and James Harden talking to one another, grabbing each other, holding hands, doing a little do-si-do. They were having fun. It was cool to see because they put together a really fine defensive play. I don't know if there were enough of those. And then offensively, We knew at times it would be a grind. It has been. They were 25th offensively heading into this game. They'll probably drop even lower in the offensive ratings after this, right? You would expect. But Harden looks tired. I keep telling y'all, this is why they have to try to find something with Kevin Porter Jr. You're talking about how poorly he has played, and I thought tonight was probably easily his best game. They were force-feeding him the basketball to get a three at one point. Chris Dunn had it on the right wing. He was open. He gave it right back to Kevin Porter Jr. instead of taking it. Like, go, man. We need you to score. We need you to get going. We're in trouble without you, and I understand that. And I thought Kevin Porter Jr. had some good moments. A reverse layup, a steal, and a score. He got a jumper to go early on the right elbow. That sidestepping layup. He created a mismatch in the second half and found Kai, who they had to foul. He's just not quite up to speed enough yet to where you can really rely on anyone else to control the game with James Harden having to do everything. Harden again, 10 assists, but 5 turnovers. The high usage is catching up with him. He was averaging 12 and 7 turnovers coming into this one, 12 assists to 7. He got hot with a couple of big three-pointers that were clutch shots, but Clippers had 2 made baskets the last 5 minutes and 35 seconds of the game. And you survive if you just hit your free throws. James Harden missing 2 free throws, going 1 for 2 twice late is just, it's just a killer. It cannot happen. Not after a missed free throw led to Phoenix winning. Not the only reason, but was a reason, part of it, the other night. Then he made some clutch free throws against Denver. 405 mark, missed free throw. 257 mark, missed free throw. In between that, he hit a 3, but Anthony Simons got hot. What did I tell you about him in the preview earlier today? He gets going. It is tough to turn a guy like that off. He is a killer in the other sense. He's coming for your heart. He gets it going, and he brings out the flamethrower. I want to see what he ended up at the fourth quarter. I'll look for that in a little bit. But they missed their last 3 free throws. James Harden misses 2 under the 5-minute mark. Like, that's how you escape from a fate that they probably deserved in this one, playing down to their opponent. But it never should have come to that to begin with this Clippers team tonight, right? We Roland said, can't believe we can stop them 5 times in a row and not get a bucket. Yeah, I mean, they had some really good stops in the fourth quarter. They ramped things up. They ratcheted things up. But they gave up 30 to Portland in the second and 28 to them in the third quarter. They're down at the half. Shouldn't happen by 4. And it could have been worse. It was, what, a Norman Powell buzzer beater? Yeah. They were down by 9. Make it 11 with 1:07 left in that second quarter. That's just brutal. 54 to 43. Amir Coffey gets a 5-0 run where I think it was, a good Kai offensive rebound. Kai Jones played hard. I got to give it up to him tonight. I thought Kai Jones played really hard. He had a big offensive rebound, saved it. Amir Coffey gets a layup in transition, makes a 3. It's 54-48 heading into the half, and Norman Powell gets a bucket to go at the very end, going down the left side of the lane off the backboard before the buzzer goes. So they're down 11, definitely playing with their food some, with just about a minute left to go into the half, and they cut it to 4. They were lucky to do that. Portland at one time had a 12-0 run in the second quarter. Then they had an 8-0 run in the second quarter. I just think the Clippers didn't deserve this one. KPJ definitely had a couple of really bad turnovers. That's for sure. 5 of them total. That is definitely worth pointing out, where he was too loose with the basketball and still just doesn't look up to NBA speed. I would consider Bones Highland. I would play Brandon Miller. Or, I'm always saying Brandon Miller. Jordan Miller. But I don't know if it's going to happen, and I understand why. I do. Kevin Porter Jr. has averaged 19 a game, and when it looks good, it looks real good. That reverse layup was crazy. He has a lot of what the Clippers need in theory. Is he there yet? Can they wait for him to get there? I don't know. They need a win tomorrow. I know this is game 1 of a 5-game homestand, but it was an important one. And I'm not going to back down from that after I said throughout the day that this was one you need. That you have to win all 4 games against Portland. They got a gift getting 4 games against Portland, a team outside of their division in the Pac-Div, because they're one of the lesser teams in the West, and they got them 4 times. You should have won every one of those. They already dropped one. These are the ones that come back to haunt you later. They could have been 3-1, as Blue R said. Now they're 2-2. Suns tomorrow. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. 877-520-1150. 877-520-1150 is the phone number. I'm Adam Oslin. You're listening to Clippers Talk post game on the Patriot AM 1150. Better way, yeah. I like it. Anybody calling? Anybody got that last play in the chat? If you have the last possession on the Harden inbounds pass to the turnover, send it to me at Follow Adam A. I'll share it. We can go over it together here. Because that final possession, I got to see it again. I saw Jordan Miller warming up pregame. I said, Jordan Miller, question mark. I put that out there. I asked people, hey, is he going to play tonight? And now people are going back to that and saying, it's time. Maybe this creates a situation. Okay, I do have the final possession. I mean, Norman Powell, if he gets it to Norman Powell, he's going to have to get to work quickly. He'd have it from about 35 feet out. I understand the logic of trying to find Zoo for an easy one, or he draws the foul, even though he just missed 2 free throws on the right block, because maybe that's all Ayton would be able to do. It looks better in review than it did live, I'll say that. Bunit said games like this ruin my mood. I get it. Guys, it's not nothing but ISO ball. You have no idea what you're looking at if you believe that. And they had the best, or they have the best, second best guy in ISO possessions in James Harden last season. But of course, he's having to do a lot more right now without Kawhi, without Paul George as well. Yeah, Richard, I understand looking for him. I thought they were going to go to Norm too. They could have. Harden tried to be too fine with it on this pass to Ivica Zubac, who, if he throws it just a little bit further, and Zoo was being held a little bit, but they're not going to call it. It's almost It's almost the reverse Valley Oop in some ways in a bizarro world, whereas the Clippers on offense and DeAndre Ayton holds Ivica Zubac, and Zubac can't even get the basketball somewhat because of that. I mean, there is a battle going on. I'll say that. Oh, Derrick Jones Jr. was also wide open in the far side corner initially. He was asking for the basketball. He felt confident. His defender did recover off the screen from Zubac, but it shouldn't have come down to this, right? That's the overarching point here. KPJ did have a really nice step back in the second half. It was really nice. Clippers lose by 1 at Intuit Dome, 106-105, in an eerily similar fashion as Halloween is tomorrow to the game they lost to the Phoenix Suns, where once again they had a chance to tie the game or win the game late, and it ends with a turnover instead. James Harden with the basketball and the inbounds pass, looking for Ivica Zubac, and it's batted away by DeAndre Ayton. It almost reminds me of like some reverse bizarro world of the Valley Oop in game 2 of that Western Conference Finals with the Clippers in Phoenix, where everything is going the other way. This time it's the Clippers on offense. It's them inbounding it. They had more time. Ivica Zubac still battling with DeAndre Ayton, but he's battling to get the basketball. Ayton defends it really well. There could have been a foul, but they're never going to call it in this situation, so I understand that. He plays the level of physicality against Ivica Zubac that they needed Zubac to against Ayton in game 2 of that playoff game, and instead of it ending with a I don't know, a Clippers Lob City play here, it ends in a turnover. Just everything goes the other way. Also in a negative for the Clippers. They lose 106-105. Welcome back into your Clippers Talk postgame show. I'm Adam Osland, 877-520-1150, 877-520-1150. If you're watching on the YouTube live side, I do have the final possession here, and we can go over it a little bit because it's going to define the game in some ways. But to me, it's not why the Clippers lost the game either. I have to be honest about that. They had plenty of opportunities to pull away. They didn't take advantage. Their offense wasn't in sync, and I think it was out of sync from the get-go because they weren't going through Ivica Zubac at all. So on the final possession, 3.9 seconds left. James Harden, you want him as the inbounder on the far sideline. Ivica Zubac comes and immediately, and I like the set, he sets a screen for Derrick Jones Jr. Screens his man, and DJJ is open in the far side corner. There's option 1. Doesn't even look like James Harden is looking his way. He gives him a little bit of a look, but elects not to. Option 2 is Ivica Zubac then screens Norman Powell's man in Jeremy Grant. Gives him a little bit of a bump. Norman Powell gets out way on the left wing from about, it might be 35, 38, 40 feet out. He's wide open. There's 3.9 seconds left. You could give it to him there. It's conceivable that Norman Powell gets the basketball there and has enough time to go to work, whether he wants to take a 3, which is unnecessary, they're down by 1, or get inside the arc. There is enough time for that. Or dart towards the basket, as Ivica Zubac is just tangled up when you watch the play with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, DeAndre's got his jersey at the level of Ivica Zubac should have had his before the Valley Oop. The lob pass, the mortar fire pass from James Harden is deflected by the right arm of DeAndre Ayton. While he and Zubac are battling, he's got his left arm on Zubac holding him down. They're never going to call that foul. I don't think they should. That's just a battle between two big men, And DeAndre Ayton won the battle in every way. People have been pointing out in the chat on Clippers Talk Live on YouTube, Ayton is Zoo's kryptonite. It's fair. He played really well in that series in 2021. I thought Zoo was okay outside the Valley-oop, where he just needed to play tougher right then at the end. You just can't let Ayton get to that spot. Do whatever you have to. They're not going to call a foul there. Harden does look exhausted. This was my concern over the weekend. Can he really keep this up this many minutes? Tonight, he didn't play as many, and he still looked tired. He was at 32. Some are saying, no, this is the ramp-up process. He's getting his sea legs. He's getting his NBA legs. Maybe, or maybe he's 35 and having to do way too much right now. That's a distinct possibility as well. I thought just like the game against Phoenix, he made some really good plays late and some really bad plays late. I thought the Clippers in the fourth quarter, they hit a Batum 3 to start it. They had some really good opportunities. They didn't close out the third the way they should have, first of all. And these are the little things that kill you when it comes to a death by paper cut situation, where the Clippers were in control to some degree into the third quarter. It is 85 to 77 with 1:22 left. Scoot gets a layup and a three-pointer. Just like that. Cuts it to a three-point game heading into the fourth. It's lessened, that blow, that run, by Nico Batum immediately knocking down a three to start the fourth. But they just couldn't string enough shots together or stops. KPJ had a really bad take early in the fourth quarter that got swatted. But then he had a really nice feed to Jones for a dunk. But 7 points straight from, who was it, Rupert of Portland. That was a big turning point of the game. I got to be honest. That hurt them. I know basketball is a game of runs. They were extreme in this game. Absolutely. And it was because the Clippers offense just going into deep lulls. Rupert would be how you pronounce it, as I check the pronunciation on Basketball Reference. Rupert had 7 straight points early in the fourth quarter. Those were big. KPJ did have that step-back bucket. Amir had a nice block. But I didn't like them forcing the basketball to Kevin Porter Jr., as I mentioned earlier. Chris Dunn got it on the right wing, gave it right back to KPJ and told him to shoot it. Didn't make it. Then missed another 3. I get it. They're trying to get him going. But instead, Klingon makes a three-pointer. Both big men for the Portland Trail Blazers make threes. You could say that's bad luck on the Clippers' part. I mean, Klingon hit like 2 threes in college. And last year, I think DeAndre Ayton was 2 for 10 from 3, and he knocked one down in this game. That's just fluky. It's crazy, but it happens when you mess around and find out against a bad team. The level of seriousness was not where it needed to be, as Ryan Rickley points out here on the chat side. It wasn't. Not even close. And now the Clippers have some tough games coming up, as Mike Kim points out. Suns, Thunder, Spurs, Sixers, next 4 games. He's going straight doomer, saying they could lose all 4. They're tough opponents. We'll see if the Sixers get healthy. How about let's start with winning tomorrow, with getting one back against the Suns. Not just for what happened tonight, but the Suns beat them opening night here at Intuit Dome. How about getting a win here and not hurting yourself with self-inflicted wounds? I hate seeing that. I hate seeing a team beat themselves, and that's what it felt like in so many ways. In the little ways of just, you know what, we're going to go away from beats of Zubac and we'll get to him later in the game. We'll get him a couple of buckets in the third quarter. He'll come alive. No, you got to get him going in rhythm. You could see it wasn't there early because he wasn't getting touches. You could see it was there for a second in the third, but then they took him out because they're trying to save minutes with a game coming up tomorrow. They did not play with the right intent. They did not play like a team that knew they had to take care of business against a lesser opponent. That's what's frustrating. I think we still have one more timeout here. Zach O'Quality back in Burbank, or am I wrong on that? We'll take one timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Coach Lou post game. Clippers lose 106-105 to the Portland Trail Blazers at Intuit Dome. Another turnover to end a ball game when they had a chance to win it. So 2 games really close things out over the weekend. And then their book ended by 2 games here at Intuit Dome to start the season against Phoenix and then tonight against Portland, where they don't get it done in crunch time. Mixed bag so far. Hard to draw any long-reaching conclusions. That's why I've been prefacing things all weekend. While you can be excited, there were still warning signs, like Harden having to do way too much. More Clippers talk next here on the Patriot AM 1150. I'm going to send it to your Gmail, Zach. Got you. Thank you. Are you with us tomorrow? Nice. Jay said just looked at the Sixers being 1-3 and instantly felt better. Re-rolling said we just didn't show up like the scheme was going to our. Let's see if we win it. Shake my head. Lob for Zoo's last play. Damn, man. I don't hate it after watching it again. I get the thinking there. If he gets it there on the right block against Ayton, you feel good about him getting up an easy shot or drawing the foul, but I don't know. He just missed 2 free throws too. I would have rather seen Norm Powell with that much time left, 3.9. Get it with room to operate, to be honest with you, on that left wing. I'm interested to hear what Coach Lou says about it coming up next. We're going to hear from Coach Lou in just a minute. Jay said, different Jay, just letter Jay, said, get home safely, Adam, and let the F-bombs fly on the After Dark show. If you guys want Clippers After Dark, I'll give it to you. I sent, did you not get it? Yeah, that's where I sent it. Zell called it. Yeah. I sent it. It's not going through. If you just search Hoop Jab on YouTube, the account Hoop Jab, and go to videos, it's one of the first ones. HOPGAB. Clippers 2-2, but it feels worse than that right now. I did say in their first 10 games I'd sign up for them going 5-5, but they had just such a great opportunity to go 3-1. And they let it go. And they lost at home to the Portland Trail Blazers 106-105 as the Clippers could not execute when they had to late, missed free throws, and a back-breaking turnover with 3.9 seconds left on an inbounds play from James Harden looking for Ivica Zubac. I'm Adam Osland. Welcome back in. This is Clippers Talk on the Patriot AM 1150. And if you're watching on the YouTube side, at Clippers Talk. People are coming up with new trade ideas. You guys still want Jeremy Grant, or are you over that now that he was awful tonight? The Clippers still lost to Portland, but do we just go night to night with this stuff and performance to performance? I'm telling you, you can't be a prisoner of the moment. You got to look big picture here. I thought there were warning signs even in those 2 victories with James Harden and how tired he looked. When they were going to Derek Jones Jr. to bring the ball up at the end of that game against the Golden State Warriors, which resulted in turnovers, I said, oh, that's not great to me. I'm glad they won, but, there's a price to pay for playing heavy minutes. The tank looked even more empty tonight late. Let's hear from Coach Lou post game after the Clippers lose 106 to 105 here at Intuit Dome to the Portland Trailblazers. So there was Coach Lou. Great question by Joey Lynn post game. We had him on the pregame show, Joey Lynn from SI Now. But I'll sum it up for you guys and give some analysis on what he was talking about. I know on the YouTube live side, you guys couldn't hear Coach Lou, but that's all right. I'll give it to you. He talked about a lot of different things, doing them in. This goes back to me saying death by paper cuts. It typically comes down to that in a game like this where you lose to Portland. A lot of things. He thought they could have blitzed Simons more, but didn't elect to. That was his call, and Anthony Simons made some tough shots. He most certainly did in that fourth quarter. I want to see what Anthony Simons ended up shooting. You know what? Somebody in the chat get to me on that. If you have the numbers in the fourth quarter from Anthony Simons and just what he was able to do. But the defensive pressure sped them up. They got stagnant with the ball. There was a play I pointed out in the broadcast, but Chauncey Billups learned from Coach Lou about this. Late in the shot clock, what you do is trap the ball handler. It's called a fire, and they did that against James Harden, resulting in a turnover in the fourth quarter. You could see it. Chauncey Billups called for it. He said, "Go, go, go," and the double came. They trapped him. Clippers lost the basketball. But he said this is stuff they've been working on the last 2 days. They just didn't execute. So they knew what they had to work on. They knew what was going to happen. They were prepared for it, but they didn't execute. They didn't get it done when they needed to against when there were live bullets out there against a team. And it was no longer practice. That's frustrating. He mentioned the free throws. They went 4 of 9 in the fourth quarter at the charity stripe, guys. He was also asked about tomorrow's game. He said, we'll be ready for tomorrow. They talked about Brad Turner from the LA Times asking him about all these close games. Coach Lou acknowledged all our games are going to be close. Yeah, when you play defense like this, you're in a lot of games. You got to close them out. They did in 2 of them. In 2 of them, they did not. Regarding Ivica Zubac, he said it was on us for not getting Zubac the ball more early. While they were trying to take him away, he said they could have done a better job trying to get Zubac the ball. They were swarming him defensively, Portland, pushing him out towards the perimeter too. But then he also talked about, as Joey Lynn asked him about James Harden, just throwing different bodies at James Harden, wearing him down. And that's what you're seeing right now. And that's concerning. Yeah, I know what Simmons was overall, 10 for 24. What was he in the fourth quarter alone, my friend Boonette here in the chat? That's what I'm interested in. I know a lot of people are going to be back with Clippers Talk After Dark, and we'll have more post-game audio for you there. But this was a really tough loss, as bad as it can get early in a season where you're still trying to get your first win here at Intuit Dome, and you lose to a team that's probably going to finish bottom 2 in the Western Conference, I think. They got a first-round pick. Many are calling it capture the flag with Cooper Flag, and Portland will probably be involved. But early in the season is when stuff like this happens, and that's why I was concerned. Because you can get a team to rise up, and especially if you give them life like the Clippers did tonight. They made it too easy on them by not clamping them down, by not showing up. While they started off 8-0, and their defense was locked in early, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't consistently good enough, not to the level we had seen over the past couple of games. So it is frustrating, and people are now wanting to talk about trades and Lonzo Ball. And it's like, man, he's not even playing right now and just came back. You want another injury-prone guy? That's the move after a loss like this. That's the conversation. Ayton has been a tough matchup for Ivica Zubac over the years. There's no getting around that. And I think collectively, the team defense by the Portland Trailblazers, knowing that we take away Zubac, we can take away the Clippers offense. They can't get into a rhythm. Smart on their part. It also tells you about the Clippers and who they are this season. They're featuring Ivica Zubac. Teams are keying in on that. So they have to adjust to it. It's that cat and mouse game. The Clippers have to be prepared for this. Teams are watching tape too. They're going to try to find a way to take away your strengths, and Ivica Zubac has certainly been one. Anthony Simons was 3 of 6 in the fourth quarter. So, he was good. Clippers not good enough, not nearly good enough. They better step up tomorrow night against the Phoenix Suns, who had the day off. Tip time for that one's at 7:30, right back here at Intuit Dome. Pregame at 6:30. Before we get out of here, I do want to thank the Clippers organization. Ralph Lawler, Brian Seaman, Noah Eagle, Carlo Jimenez on the call, Big Brother Jake Warner, who's on Cloud 9 tonight, as his Dodgers are victorious and World Series champions. Zach O'Caldy back in the bank, our producer. Thank you, Zach. Everybody in the chat, we'll have some Clippers talk after dark for you in about, 35 minutes whenever I can get home. More to unpack from this one. Everybody else, we'll talk to you tomorrow night at 6:30.